All right, what is up, my friends? Welcome. Part 6 of the Kaldheim full set review. We're doing multicolored cards. There are a lot of multicolored cards in this set, all right? So, for those who don't know what's going on, full set review, every card, limited, constructed. We do a best in show for each color. If you missed anything, it'll be all up on the YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube now, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Hit that follow button, do all the cool buttons and stuff like that. And let's go. Multicolored cards time. Oh boy, a lot of sagas. A lot of sagas. First up, though, is Igor, the Freezing Flame. Just another legendary 3/3 for 3. It's just like the theme of the set. Legendary 3/3s for 3. End of story. We have a giant wizard. Whenever a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls is dealt excess damage. If a giant wizard or spell you controlled dealt damage to it this turn, draw a card. I have to read that again. There's so many words in this freaking set. Hold on. Whenever a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls is dealt excess damage, if a giant wizard or spell you control dealt damage to it this turn, draw a card. That's pretty good. So if you lightning bolt a Noble Hierarch, you draw a card. If you attack with this and they block with a 2/2, you draw a card. That's kind of cool. So while the red god gives your things sort of like spell trample, this gives your things drawing cards instead of dealing the extra damage, which is kind of cool, honestly. If you're tuning in, folks, you've heard it in white, blue, black, red, and green. Those will all be my YouTube tonight, though. So look forward tonight if you missed anything, and stay tuned for what we have. We still have multicolor and colors to do. So they do work kind of well together, but it's true. Kind of a cool card. Just like, is there going to be a giant deck? I mean, maybe. I don't really know. It's an interesting one. Jeff, new sub, watching away from. Thanks so much. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a weird card. The effect is pretty good. The effect is definitely pretty good. Anytime you're drawing cards and you're killing things, it's like a very, very good place to be. And this makes cards at like a Thundering Rebuke. It's like 2 mana, 4 damage or whatever. Much more appealing as well. This card's interesting. It is a little... It's a little middle of the roady, where it's like a 3/3 for 3. Doesn't really like attack super well. Doesn't really block super well. It's kind of like, you just play it and it dies, But the effect is decent. It's definitely interesting. And the limited of this card seems phenomenal. Because if you ever draw one card off this in limited, you are so far ahead in value. And if it keeps drawing cards, it's insane. So it's super, super good limited card. Oh, not a card you want to take super early because it is a dual color card. But definitely very, very good. Very, very good. Our first of many sagas. Arnie slays the troll. We love slaying trolls here on the stream.
Get off my plane.
That's how we slay trolls. And red and green saga. So cheap. Chapter 1. Target creature you control fights another creature. Okay. Chapter 2. Add a red. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 creature you control. So a little random, I guess, adding a random red mana. It's honestly like pretty good though. I mean, you get to ramp for like a Lotus Petal for a turn and make a creature bigger. It's pretty good. And then chapter 3 is you gain life, you'll do the highest power. This card's not bad. I mean, 2 mana for a fight, and then a Lotus Petal, and then 2 counters. It's pretty needy. It needs things to be going in your favor to work. You gotta have a creature in play that can fight successfully. Once chapter 2 goes off, you gotta have a creature in play to put counters on, and you have to have a use for the mana, and then gaining life is fine. So this is like not a 2-drop in the sense like you're gonna play this on turn 2. But it's definitely an interesting card. I don't know if this card is good enough for constructed. It is probably too narrow in that there's just better ways to fight things, and there's better ways to buff your creatures and so on and so forth. So I don't think it's probably a constructed card. In the limited, this card seems great though. A lot of value for only 2 mana. It is sorcerer speed too. Yeah, definitely a solid limited card. Probably not seeing play in constructed, but it's an interesting card. A lot of the figuring out how the chapters work is definitely pretty interesting. And And this is a lot of interesting things happening in different chapters for pretty cheap cost. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Up next is Ascent of the Worthy. This is a 1 white and a black saga. Chapter 1 and 2. Choose a creature you control until your next turn. All damage that would be dealt to creatures you control is dealt to that creature instead. Poor little bugger. Jeez. That stinks. So, kind of a weird card. Like, obviously you can get into combat and try and, like, make some trades happen, and, like, the one creature dies. It turns off damage-based removal, but, like, not really a great first chapter. Then chapter 3 is a turn creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a flying counter on it, and it's an angel warrior. And this is other types. So, the chapter 3 is very good. We have a kind of like a delayed zombify, and getting flying is also good too. Use it on Brash Taunter. That's kind of cute. That's kind of cute. Yeah, kind of a weird card. I don't know. Just a really, really weird card. Constructed, we're looking at like a slow 3-mana zombify. That's not very good. It seems okay and limited. It just doesn't seem very good, honestly. I just don't think this card's very good. Not very exciting. Battle for Braugarde. Green-white 1. Chapter 1, make a 1/1 human warrior. Chapter 2, make a 1/1 green elf. Chapter 3, choose any number of artifact tokens and or creature tokens you control with different names. For each of them, make a copy. So, kind of cool. This is effectively 4 1/1s for 3 mana. Which would be really, really good if it all happened at once, but it doesn't really work like that because these things might die, you might have to block with them, might attack with them, and so on and so forth. It's possible Chapter 3 won't do anything. So, it's definitely an interesting card. Obviously, we have other tokens in play. You know, we have treasure tokens, or we have just whatever other tokens we have. Getting copies and extra tokens is kind of cool, but feels a little Win Mori, honestly. The prospect of 4 1/1s for 3 is a decent effect, but the floor here is pretty low. If they just kill one of these, say, you know, they stomp the first 1/1, and you get an elf, and you get another elf. Just, like, not very good. Obviously, the one thing that needs to be mentioned with these sagas is all the sagas are insane with Yorion. So that's a thing. But on the whole, not very exciting. Not very exciting. If there's some crazy token deck that wants this effect, sure, but just overall not very exciting. Next up is Battle of Frost and Fire. What's that? Thor's here! Best in Show. This is a tough one. There's another card you would actually really, really like. But Battle of Frost and Fire is pretty freaking busted. 5-mana saga. Chapter 1. It deals 4 damage to each non-giant creature, each planeswalker. So we have, right off the bat, we have Storm's Wrath for 5 mana instead of 4. So, with upside, which is pretty huge, because you get to play your kind of... Sagas are almost like planeswalkers in a way, where they're like this permanent that sits there and slowly gains you an advantage. So you have to play your planeswalker, essentially, and kill everything, which is really, really good. So that's a good place to start. And also, obviously, maybe you're definitely playing Bogart's Giant with this card as well. Maybe you're playing the other cards, the legendary card that we looked at earlier. So, definitely a thing. Although it is bad against Changelings, that is true. Chapter 2 is Scry 3. It's okay. It's okay. Not amazing, okay. Chapter 3, whenever you cast a spell with mana cost 5 or greater, draw 2 cards and discard a card. And that's pretty nice. So you can just play another Battle of Frost and Fire, draw 2, kill everything again, and pretty powerful. So this feels kind of Elspeth Conquers Deathy to me. It's a little bit different in the sense that it's like a Wrath rather than like a one-target removal, but this is just really, really good. This just gets a Wrath, you get to Scry, you get to draw some cards. Wrath, Scry, draw some cards. Obviously busted with the Yorion. It's very, very cool with the Yorion because you get to flicker it, and then it won't kill the Yorion, which is pretty awesome. So just a really, really powerful card. Great curve topper. It is annoying it does not kill Bone Crusher Giant, and it also doesn't kill Love Struck Beast. So that is definitely a major count against it. Format specific to Eldraine, for sure. That is a factor. But vacuum-wise, this card's very, very good. And then can it overcome that? We will see. We will see. But my pick for Best in Show, there are some other multi-card cards that I do like a lot, but this is my pick for Best in Show. Battle of Frost and Fire. Obviously busted and limited. If you're playing blue-red, you're playing Giants anyway. Just super one-sided, super broken. But Best in Show. Like this card a lot. Looking forward to flickering it. And just the value train of these sagas is really, really sick. So I do agree that with Bone Crusher and Love Struck Beast being so prevalent that it might not shine immediately. But we shall see. We shall see. I like it. Thor, thank you, my friend. I'll see you for the next Best in Show, right? All right. Keep moving here. The Bears of Litjara. 1 green, blue. Oh, God. Oh, God. Not a Simic card. I don't want to read it. I don't want to read it. Chapter 1. Make a 2/2 Shapeshifter token with Changeling. I mean, for 3 mana, that's not bad. Chapter 2. Any number of target Shapeshifter creatures you control now have base power and toughness 4. That's also pretty good, honestly. So, right off the bat, we have a 3 mana 4/4. Although I can't get stomped in the interim. But that's not bad. Chapter 3. Choose up to 1 target creature or Planeswalker. Each creature you control, power 4 or greater, deals damage equal to its power to that permanent. So it can kill a creature or a Planeswalker. That's pretty good. This card seems very, very good. It's basically a 4/4 and then a Prey Upon. The 4/4 stays, correct. It is not till end of turn. It changes it. And obviously, if you have more changelings, they can also be 4/4s. Although there aren't many there aren't many changelings that are good. But in a vacuum by itself, the rate on this card is quite good. It is bad against Stomp. So you play this, they stomp it. Now Chapter 2 means nothing. And Chapter 3 also means nothing, probably. So that's a real concern. But raw power level of this card is quite good. This art is quite good. Good kind of stompy card for sure. And then limited, just discards broken and limited. Just absolutely broken. Yeah, just like super good and limited. A 4/4 that kills something for 3 mana. Just insane. Super insane. Next up is Binding of the Old Gods, aka Death Sprout done right. Black-green 2. Comes into play Chapter 1. Destroy a non-land permanent an opponent controls. Big game. Big game. Can kill a Planeswalker, can kill an artifact, kill Doom Foretold, kill creatures, anything you want. Real good. Chapter 2, search for a forest card and put it in the battlefield tapped. This gets dual lands, this gets snow lands, this gets triomes, also big game. And then Chapter 3, creatures you control gain death touch on end of turn. That's not as exciting, but this is also in consideration for best in show for multicolored card. This card is quite good. And the art of this is actually a photo of a wood carving, which is really cool also. Oops. Yeah, very good card. Not as good, not better than Elspeth Conqueror's Death, because the chapter 3 is pretty blank. But for the most part, this is just a Vindicate. That's also a Rampant Growth. And then the chapter 3 almost exists to give you time to flicker it with Yorion before it goes away, which is kind of cool. But very powerful card. Don't forget, with all these sagas, that Theros Beyond Death is still legal. So any constellation effects and things like that are also in play as well. So pretty cool card. And yeah, card's pretty sweet. Definitely a very good one. Again, busted and limited. I mean, kill a creature and then get a land is already good enough in limited for 4 mana. So very good limited cards. Well, all the sagas seem great in limited. Next up is the Blood Sky Massacre, which is a Rakdos 3 mana card. Chapter 1, make a 2/3 Demon Berserker. That's pretty important. Pretty good. Decent rate. Chapter 2, whenever a Berserker attacks this turn, you draw a card, lose 1 life. If there's a Berserker deck, this card is the payoff. Because, say you go Berserker on 1, Berserker on 2, then play this card on 3, you can draw a lot of cards on turn 4. A lot of cards on turn 4, which is pretty wild. So, Chapter 2, real good. Chapter 3, add a red for each Berserker you control. Till end of turn, the mana doesn't go away. So, Chapter 3, again, is like kind of like a filler text, not really super exciting, but can be okay. Add some red, do some things, whatever, Ember Cleave, and so on and so forth. Definitely wants to be played in a deck with lots of Berserkers. You can't afford to just like try and play this card by itself, because if the Berserker dies, you get blown out. But if there's some sort of Berserker deck, this is like the linchpin of the deck for sure. That Chapter 2 is phenomenal. Being able to reload to the point of like crappy 1/1 Berserkers for 1 with some marginal ability might be playable by itself. Very, very, very powerful card in that respect. So it's narrow, but it's powerful. Chapter 3 can boast for sure. That's kind of cool. I mean, you can find a use of the mana for sure. And the good news is if you drew a bunch of cards off Chapter 2, now you have a lot of mana for Chapter 3 to use, which is kind of cool too. So powerful card here. I like this card a lot if it has a home, which is a big if. But if there's a Berserker deck, this card is the linchpin for sure. And limited, same thing. It's a great card, limited. Follow the Imposter. Selesnya, uncommon. Chapter 1 and 2, put a +++ encounter on one creature. Chapter 3, exile a creature with the greatest power among creatures target opponent controls. So, not very inside of constructed. You can't really have a slow, like the effect isn't good enough. The Chapter 1 and 2 just aren't good enough for constructed, and then Chapter 3 is like okay, but not great. Solid draft card though. Pump a creature, kill something. It's just a slow removal spell, which is fine. Very solid draft card for sure, but not really playable constructed. Freyas, Judge of Valor. 2 white, black, 2/4 flying lifelink. So body not great. Not quite Baneslayer Angel. Obviously okay and limited. Whenever you cast your second spell of each turn, look at the top 3 cards of your library. 1 in your hand, rest in the graveyard. So for sure a very good limited card. If you are the second spell deck, foretold deck, whatever, this card's very, very good. Again, if you draw 1 card off of this, you've already made your money back. Because 2/4 lifelink flyer for 5 isn't the worst. And then if you draw a card, it's awesome. It is a little weird. You should just impulsing and stuff. I agree if it's a little blue, but it's a fine draft card. Nothing super exciting. Just an okay card. Next up is Freyas Retribution, and her Retribution is much better than her actual card. This card was very, very close to being best in show. I think this card is phenomenal. I just think that the giant card is a little easier to use because the cost here is a little rough. White, 1 black Saga. Chapter 1, make a Serra Angel. Pretty good. So a 4-mana Serra Angel is not bad. Chapter 2, to end a turn, angels you control gain tap to destroy a creature with power less than this creature's power. That's really good. So make a Serra Angel with Vigilance. Chapter 2, attack them for 4 with it, tap it, and kill a 3/3. That's awesome. That's to say nothing if you don't have other angels in play. Chapter 3, all angels you control gain double strike on a turn. So, in a vacuum, this card is fine, although a little risky, because your angel might die. But the floor of just this enchantment that makes a 4/4 is quite good. And the fact that the Chapter 2 can do some nasty stuff is really awesome. There are a lot of angels available, maybe some changeling stuff like that, whatever. But if you get to tap 2 angels and kill 2 things, that's insane. And then, of course, things like Yorion. Again, I'm going to say the word Yorion 100 times during this section here because it's so good with all the sagas. You can Yorion this, make another 4/4. With Doom Foretold, this makes a 4/4, and the 4/4 stays in play because a Doom Foretold can't sacrifice it, which is awesome. This card does a lot. It is a little awkward. It is a little hard to cast, but the power level here is extremely high. Again, the floor is a 4-mana Serra Angel, which really is quite good, and the ceiling is very, very, very high. Very good card. Again, busted and limited. A 4-mana Serra Angel is already good. Very, very powerful card. The thing is that, so people are saying in chat it's bad against removal. You play this card, and they kill your 4/4. I mean, is it really that bad? All right, you played a card, they played a card, we traded 1 for 1. Sure. So the floor is really pretty high, all things considered. And it's still in play, you can still flicker it and stuff like that, and the upside is just so high. Really, really good. Yeah, they have Borrower, Casket, for sure. Those are definitely good cards against this, but I think this card's very, very good. Up next is Forging the Tieright Sword. This is a Boros enchantment that cares about equipment. 1 Will they ever stop trying to do this? Stop trying to make Boros equipment happen, because it's not going to happen. 3 mana for a Saga. Chapter 1 and 2 make a treasure. Chapter 3 searches for a card named Halvor, God of Battle, or an equipment card and put it into your hand. It's not very good. It's not very good. Yeah. Not a fan in most scenarios. It's Stoneforge Mystic. Harald, King of Skimfar. 3 mana Golgari for a 3/2 elf warrior with menace. Comes into play. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You can reveal an elf, a warrior, or Tyvar card from among them and put it in your hand. Put the rest of the bottom of the library in random order. This card's freaking good. This is just a cantripping 3/2 menace. This card's great. I mean, obviously you gotta be playing elves or warriors in your deck, but a 3/2 that comes to play and draws a card, draws a spell no less, is very, very good. Narrow, but powerful. Definitely good and limited. Like, the fail state here of a 3/2 menace for 3, like, isn't even that bad. Does die to Bone Crusher Giant, but just draws cards. Just draws cards. Top 5 cards, just draw a freaking card. It's great. Harold Unite. Why is the name Harold funny to me? Just Harold. Harold unites the elves after going to White Castle. 4 mana Golgari. Mill 3. You may put an elf or a Tyvar card from your graveyard onto the battlefield. That's not bad. Chapter 2. Put a +1/+1 counter on each elf you control. Chapter 3. Whenever an elf you control attacks this turn, target your opponent control gets -1 and -1 on a turn. This card's definitely busted and limited. But constructed wise, so we have 4 mana, maybe put an elf or Tyvar in play. And then maybe pump your elves, but you spend time playing this and not an elf, which is kind of eh. And then the third ability is very good in a creature matchup, but kind of narrow. This card feels too narrow. There's too many things going on here. You gotta have cards in your graveyard. You gotta have things and elves in play, and like if anything goes wrong on any step here, we're not getting the value we need. Not really cool with this card. It's not an elf itself. Just not really. Don't think this card's great. Fine and limited if you're playing a lot of elves. Definitely, it's like actively pretty good and limited, but doesn't seem very good in constructed. Not a constructed card. Next up is Emmerstrum Predator, a Rakdos card. 4 mana for a 3/3 flyer, a vampire dragon. That's cool. I haven't seen a vampire dragon in a while. Remember Vampiric Dragon? Okay, Boomer. Whenever it becomes tapped, exile up to 1 target card in a graveyard and put a counter on Emmerstrum Predator. So that's kind of cool. It can grow. It can be a little graveyard hate, sure. Sack a creature, and you can give it indestructible and end of turn and tap it. So a little like Falcon Wrath aristocrat-y, but no haste here is pretty tough. The fact that it doesn't really do anything a turn it comes into play is not super exciting. You gotta have fire to sacrifice it. It's okay. It's a free sacrifice outlet. You know, it definitely does that job if you're like a sacrificey deck. Red-Black Dream Trawler. Slow down. Slow down. I know Dream Trawler. This card ain't Dream Trawler, all right? So we gotta slow down a little bit here. This card is somewhat hard to kill, but you can just ignore it. It is just a 3/3 or a 4/4 flyer. It's not that big of a deal. The fact that it exiles Croxa and things like that is pretty good. Doesn't affect the board a ton. Does die to Elspeth Conquer's Death pretty embarrassingly. So it's a card. If there's a deck that wants it, maybe, you know, there aren't many like foddery decks right now. Like if it's like an artifact too, that'd be pretty exciting, but it's just kind of like a medium level rare. I don't think it really does enough to be super exciting. It seems mostly interesting from a graveyard standpoint, but it's just okay. It's just okay. Also dies Skyclave, sure, very fair. In limited, busted, obviously, just a broken rare in limited, but I don't think it's a super exciting card in constructed. Next up is Invasion of the Giants, a blue and red for a saga. It's Slow Ordain. Scry 2, Chapter 1. Chapter 2, you draw a card. Then you may reveal a giant card from your hand. And if you do, deal 2 damage to a opponent or planeswalker. So a little bonus here. I'm not going to kill a planeswalker. Not going to do too much. You know, dealing 2 is kind of fine. And then chapter 3, the next giant spell you cast this turn costs 2 less to cast. That's not bad. How many giants are we actually playing that have 2 in the cost besides Bonecrusher Giant? Again, the big thing is that like Bonecrusher Giant's already the best card in the format. So all of these cards that reference giants are basically just saying Bonecrusher Giant and then maybe something else too. This card is interesting but slow. I mean, 2 mana Preordain is basically just Omen of a Sea. It's a little slower than that, but it's okay. A little extra value. 1 mana Bonecrusher Giant's kind of interesting. We can cast like the Adventure Wrath Giant for 2 less. It's like a thing. I don't think this card's great. It's okay. The payoff is not super exciting. A sorcery speed slow Omen of the Sea is not really that great. Not really about it, honestly. This card is just like kind of medium. It's fine limited, obviously, solid limited card in draft, but I think we need to be playing a lot of giants in this. I need to have a plan. Like this needs to curve into a specific giant on turn 5 to really, really matter. Or turn 4, I mean. Yeah, not really thrilled. It's okay. It's okay. Next up is Cardoor, Doom Scourge. Rakdos 4 mana, 4/3. What's up, Dan? Legendary creature, Demon Berserker. So stats are okay. Also to play until your next turn, creatures your opponent's control attack each combat if able, and attack a player other than you if able. It's a commander product card. Whenever an attacking creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So you play this, your opponent has to attack. Like creature dies, your opponent loses 1 life, you gain. Okay. I mean, this is a limited card for sure. Like, this is not a constructed card at all. Seems very good and limited. You just force your opponents to make bad attacks, and you can get some life here and there. Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, your own attackers. This is a good draft card. It's not a constructed card at all, but definitely a very solid draft card if you're Rakdos for sure. It's good body, good effects. Pretty good. Cardoor's Vicious Return. Rakdos, 4 mana. Chapter 1, sacrifice a creature. When you do, deals 3 damage to any target. So, it's okay. Chapter 2, each player discards a card. Chapter 3, turn target creature from the graveyard to the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it gains haste. So, a slow, good Zombify, giving haste and +1/+1 counter. Is Draku Seth still legal in Standard? I don't think it is. I think it was in M20, not M21. Yeah, it is not legal in Standard. So, I don't know what good things there are to give haste. Draku Seth being by far the best. A lot of ifs here. You gotta sacrifice a creature to bolt something. Both players discard. Not a very exciting card for constructed. Kind of a fun limited card for sure. But not super exciting overall. Honestly, cool art, cool card, cool. Kaya the Inexorable, 5 mana Planeswalker. Kind of a boring Planeswalker, honestly. The standard 5 mana, 5 loyalty, +1, -3, -7. +1, it puts a ghost form counter on a non-token creature. That creature dies. It goes back to your hand. Make a spirit token. That's okay. It's not great. I guess it'll bounce your stuff and exile it and so on and so forth. Not a very good +1, honestly. -3 is a Vindicate, which is really good. Exile Vindicate is phenomenal. And then -7, cast legendary spells from your hand or your graveyard without playing its mana cost. Not super great. Not a very good Planeswalker. Mostly just a 5 mana Vindicate that can do other things too. But not a very exciting Planeswalker. Pretty low power level overall. Obviously good and limited. It's Planeswalker, but King Narfi's Betrayal. Dimir, 3 mana Saga. Chapter 1. Each player mills 4 cards. Then you may exile a creature or Planeswalker card from each graveyard. Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. Till end of turn, you may cast cards with this card that had been exiled and send mana, those mana of any color. So, definitely cute. The fact that you can only cast the cards in the 2-turn window is a little tough. is a little tough. Self-mill is kind of cool. Obviously, if you're using the self-mill to benefit you in some other way, it's kind of cool. But, like, kind of a weird card, because if you don't get both cards off of it, it's definitely not good enough. You know, this has to be divination to be good enough. And the self-mill is kind of okay, too. It's up to DMT, thanks to resub.
Sell out with me, oh yeah, Jim sell out, Jim sell out.
This card looks more fun than good. Just like not super constructed playable, I don't think. In limited, it's okay. It's possibly a draw too, but you probably want to play it later in the game, because if you hit a 6-drop, you're going to be able to play it. It's just, The chapter 2 or chapter 3 trigger additional copies of a card. I don't think so. I don't think that a future version of this card would allow you to cast the old versions of a card. Because it says exiled with King's Narfi Betrayal, meaning exiled by this card, not by a King Nafi's Betrayal. So I would say that no, you would not be able to cast future versions of this, making the card even worse, honestly. So different objects, correct. So, it's cool. Not super exciting. Cole the Forge Master. Look, it's another Equipment Matters card. Yay, Boros, Equipment Matters card. Boros for a 2/2, Legendary Dwarf. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, if it was enchanted or equipped, return it to its owner's hand. Okay. Creature tokens you control that are enchanted or equipped get +1/+1. Ornithopter, Shuko, Sack Outlet. Sure. I mean, I guess. Yeah. Not really excited about this. There's some stupid combos you can do. Whatever. This card sucks. I don't like it. Coma, Cosmo, Serpent. More Simic cards. Great. That's what I always wanted. 7 mana. Blue, blue, green, green, 3. Legendary creature, Serpent. Can't be countered. Beginning of each upkeep, make a 3/3 Serpent named Comas Coil. That's pretty good. Sacrifice a Serpent to tap target permanent, and its activated abilities cannot be activated this turn. Or give Coma indestructible. So a very short window for your opponent to kill this card. Because once you go to their turn and pass their upkeep, you'll have a snake to protect it. So pretty powerful. Obviously a 3/3 every turn cycle, or 2 3/3s every turn cycle is very, very good. Can't be countered, which is really good. Can still be hit by Conqueror's Death, things like that. But it's a pretty powerful card, but it does cost 7 mana, and 7 is a lot. And most of the good ramps in Band isn't legal anymore, so this card's kind of cool. Very powerful, very powerful. Yorion is a Serpent. That is true. That is true. It's a very powerful card. And the fact that you can't counter it's pretty important. You can't stroke it, things like that. Kind of a cool card. I think for 7 mana, this is reasonable. If this was printed 2 years ago, it would have been 5 mana, and we would have had a big problem. But at 7 mana, this card's pretty reasonable. Very powerful if it hits, but very hard to cast. Not sure what, not sure. Oh my god. Yeah, obviously, completely unbeatable unlimited. Completely unbeatable unlimited. Definitely a chance to see play constructed. It is very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. Protects itself. Wins a game by itself. Very, very solid. Up next is Maja. Braugarde Protector. White, white, green, 2. For a 2/3 legendary human warrior. So not the best stats. Other creatures get +1/+1, sure. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, you get a 1/1. So it's a landfall green-white payoff. I mean, obviously it makes 2/2s, but not very exciting. If it was a 1/4 or had more toughness, maybe you're interesting. Not super exciting. Yeah, not a landfall payoff that's so fragile in green-white that costs 5 is not very exciting. So, obviously very good limited, just a solid limited card for sure. But it is a cool Winona target. That is true. This is a human for Winona. That's a possibility. That's a possibility. Morit of the Frost. Oh god, another Simic card. Blue, blue, green, 2. For a legendary snow creature, Shapeshifter. You got the reading glasses. Changeling. You may have Morit of the Frost enter the battlefield as a copy of a permanent you control, except it's legendary and snow, in addition to its other types. And if it's a creature, it enters with 2 additional +1/+1 counters on it, and it has Changeling.
Somebody's playing a prank on me.
Who wrote this card? There's like 40 clauses in this. Let's read it again. You may have Morit of the Frost enter the battlefield as a copy of a permanent you control, except it's legendary and snow, in addition to its other types. And if it's a creature, it enters the battlefield with 2 additional +1/+1 counters on it, and has Changeling. Okay, so it's a 5-mana clone. You can only clone things that you control, which is a huge downside. Because now that's like a huge like red flag on any clone effect, because it requires you to have a board presence. Otherwise, it does nothing. So that's pretty bad. It's legendary. It's snow. It gets bigger, and it's Changeling. Yeah, I agree. It plays less complicated than it reads, but it's not very good. Good clones can target your opponent's stuff. Bad clones don't. You can clone you can copy a land if you want, sure. You can copy your own Planeswalker. Yeah, the ceiling here is reasonable, but this just seems way too risky. Just not about it. Not about it. It's obviously fine and limited, because you're just getting a bigger version of your creature you already have. So a very good limited card, but not super exciting. Not super exciting. You gotta clone your opponent's stuff. Narfi, Betrayer King, 5-mana Dimir, 4/3. Other snow and zombie creatures you control get +1/+1. That's pretty real. Pay 3 snow. Return it to the battlefield from your graveyard. Return Narfi, Betrayer King, from your graveyard to the battlefield town. I don't know why I'm reading that backwards. This card is pretty solid, honestly. I mean, if there's some way you can mill this and then get it back without casting it, that is big game. I'm not sure if that actually exists in Standard. There's a way to do that, but the recursion effect is pretty good. A 5-mana 4/3 Lord is not very exciting, but the recursion effect is kind of nice. Probably not good enough for constructed. Oh, look, it's awake. Igor. What do you think, Igor? Let's hear it for Igor. Aww. Yeah? Set review? Yeah. Yeah, so definitely not really a constructed card, unless you're only bringing it back with the snow ability. But kind of a cute card. Definitely a good limited card for sure. Timer Calls the Dead. That's kind of cool. Does require snow mana, which is a little awkward too. It's kind of cool. Up next is Nico Aris, Planeswalker, the Sphinx's Rev Planeswalker. Blue, white, X, same cost Sphinx's Rev. And when it enters the battlefield, you make X shard tokens. Do I have a shard token to show you? I did not get an image of that. I will see if I can do that for you right now. It looks like I can't. Really? There's no shard. There's someone posted them somewhere. Crap. So I'm prepared. So shard token is an enchantment. It's like an enchantment clue, where it's instead of being an artifact, it's an enchantment, and then you pay 2, sack it, you scry 1, and then draw a card. So even better than a clue, because you get scry first, which is great. You all know how much I love clues. Me and Tyler Trackers are like this. So here you go. I got a shard for you. Right here. That's too big. Crap. Well, there it is. A shard. And so shards are obviously good but slow. Kind of similar to clues, where if the game goes long, they're really, really good, but they're slow. They're not, immediate card draw. Also, a big downside here is that this creates a end of the battlefield trigger on Nico. So you play Nico, trigger goes off, they can lightning strike it before you can use it. So that is kind of annoying. That's definitely a thing. That's a downside. However, it scales really well, because obviously if you cast this for 6 mana, you're going to be making, three shards, drawing cards later. Pretty cool. Should have been a cast trigger, maybe. Definitely a possibility. +1, up to 1 target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Another creature deals damage this turn, return it to its owner's hand. So very weird first ability here. Makes things unblockable, but then you have to bounce it. So not a very aggressive ability. Kind of weird. Obviously kind of cool with like Skyclad Apparition or things like that. You can get extra value off of it. But weird +1. Weird +1 for sure. -1, deal 2 damage to taps creature for each card you draw in this turn. That's reasonable. So you can minus it, kill a creature, still has 2 loyalty. Pretty reasonable. It has to be tapped, which is kind of limiting for sure, but sure. And it can also -1, make a shard token, which is like a slow draw. So face value, not great. If it's just cost white, blue, blue, would not be a very good Planeswalker. But the variability of it is pretty good. I mean, this is a 3-mana Planeswalker on turn 3, or an 8-mana Planeswalker on turn 8, I guess. That's a lot of value. So it does make a lot of shards. It can draw a lot of cards in a long game. It is slow. It is not extremely effective at affecting the board. And the plus isn't great either. But it is a late game card. One more important thing to remember is that these are enchantments. So just like Tile Striker make artifacts you can use for Shrapnel Blast, things like that, this makes enchantments for Constellation. So Archon of Sun's Grace, Cetessan Champion, whatever other Constellation effects there are, this can trigger them a lot. So if X is 3, it makes 3 enchantments at once. It's a lot of triggers. A lot of weird, very, very weird Planeswalker. Can do kind of cool things, but it's kind of slow. Very, very hard to evaluate until you see it in play. Like playing this for 5, you get 2 shards. You can do stuff, make a 3rd shard, then you can kill it. I don't know. It's just a weird card. I also like walkers that aren't busted. I agree. I like the directions these are going in. It's not Teferi Time Raveler, but that's a good thing. That's a good thing for sure. Cute with Baron. Sure, Baron's the bouncy thing. You can draw cards. It's just like a lot of things happening at once, and it's very hard to parse by itself. You gotta put it in some decks, put it in play, and just kind of see how it goes. And it does trigger if X is 0. That's really bad. That's pretty bad. So yeah, definitely an interesting card. We'll see how it plays out. Definitely a weird one for sure. You can bounce Snapcaster Mage. Sure. Obviously bouncing creatures for value is pretty cool. Ice Fang Coddle's kind of cool too, but I don't know if that's really a value train you want to be getting on, So we'll see. Kind of a weird card for sure. Nico Defies Destiny. 3 mana for a Saga. Chapter 1, gain 2 life for each Foretold card you own in Exile. It's not really great. Chapter 2, add white, blue. You have white and blue cards making mana now. So this mana only for Foretold cards or to cast spells that have Foretold. So sure. I mean, like, this could cast like the Time Walk maybe or something like that. Kind of weird. And then Chapter 3, return a card with Foretell from your graveyard to your hand. Not good with the Time Walk. This seems like pretty narrow. This is the kind of card where like it requires so much else to go right to be good that it's just not good by itself. For 3 mana, we got to do something. If this card costs blue-white, maybe we can talk. But this card seems pretty bad, both in limited and constructed. It just doesn't seem very good. Up next is the Raven's Warning, another Azorius card here. 3 mana Azorius Saga. Chapter 1, make a flyer and gain 2 life. Okay. Chapter 2, whenever one or more creatures you control flying deals combat damage to a player, look at that player's hand and draw a card. So only can draw 1 card off this. So that's not great. So there's a cap on how many cards you can draw here, but that's not great. Chapter 3, you may put a card you own from outside the game on top of your library. Okay. That's interesting. It's not card advantage. But why am I playing Fae of Wishes in my flyer deck? Like, this is the kind of card where if they kill the 1/1, you don't have other flyers in play, doesn't do anything, and you get a card from your sideboard that you're like spending sideboard space on, but like, I don't know. A lot of like weird stuff going on here. I don't think this card's particularly good. It's kind of cool. If you have a first strike flyer, this can draw 2 cards on chapter 2. Sure. we got to play that 1-mana, 1/2 flying. But I think sagas need to have a big impact to be good. This does not have a big impact. Just feels very, very middling. Even in a Flyers deck, like, your Flyers deck should be aggressive. You should be trying to kill your opponent. This card does not help you to kill your opponent. So, not really too excited about this one. Yeah, definitely kind of fringe. Up next is Sarof Realm Eater. Golgari 3-mana 3/3, because obviously every card in this entire set is the legendary 3-mana 3/3. This is the Nessian Courser set or whatever. Trained Armadon, sure, it's better. Okay, boomer. Whenever a permanent an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Sarof Realm Eater. So, not bad. Beginning of your upkeep, if Sarof has one or more +1/+1 counters on it, you may remove all of them. If you do, exile each other non-land permanent with a converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of counters removed this way. So it's sort of like a weird creature pernicious deed. This could be really, really good if your opponent is playing a lot of 1-drops or 0-drops, things like that. Ugin's Dog. It's kind of Ugin-esque for sure. The weird thing is, though, I just don't know what deck wants this card. You know, like, we don't really want to play this card in an aggressive deck. It reminds me a lot of Chevelle, the 1/3 Death Touch bounty creature from whatever set that was. It's like a creature that's like good against other creatures, but it's like kind of weird by itself, and like it requires you to kill their stuff while it's in play. They don't have creatures, it kind of sucks. It's like this weird card. Kind of rocky, kind of Abzan-y, sure. I don't know. I don't really see this card finding a home. It could be a sideboard card against, like, you know, all 1-drop or token decks. It does kill tokens very well. But I'm not super excited. I'm not super excited about it. I think Chevelle is just better, and Chevelle really hasn't seen play. So, it's obviously very good with very good in limited. Obviously, it's really, really good, but not super exciting. Showdown of the Scalds. This was like the first card we saw, right? Boros for mana. Chapter 1, exile top 4 cards to your library. So end of next turn, you may play those cards. So similar to Escape to the Wilds. Chapter 2 and 3. If you cast a spell this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. This card is very similar to not very similar. Just this card fits the role of like your 4-mana curve topper in your aggro deck. So you're playing Frenzy or you're playing a Planeswalker or whatever it is. It's not nearly as good as Escape to the Wilds. It does not play well with ramp. You don't really want to play it with bigger cards because you need to be aggressive to make use of the chapter 2 and 3. This mostly feels like a curve topper for an aggressive deck. 4 cards is a lot. You draw a lot of cards here. Could be good in like a Bernie deck. Definitely want to have creatures in play. Definitely want to cast spells. Kind of your typical Boros card that just like requires you to have creatures in play and stuff like that. I think this card's pretty good. 4 cards is a lot. It definitely is a lot. Guy ran the Scald is in play and is very happy to see some love. You can hit lands off it, which is kind of cool, but realistically, you want to be playing a low curve. We'll see. It does have a pseudo prowess effect. I don't know. It's definitely a decent aggro tool for sure. I'm not sure how effective it'll be, but this is a card. This is a card for sure, and I think that while narrow, this card could definitely find a home. And it's busted in limited, obviously. Just like insanely busted in limited. Like really, really, really good in limited. Next up is Sabella Ice Shaper. Wow. 3 mana and legend. And it's not a 3/3, it's a 2/4. How about that? We like that. So Gruel 2/4, legendary. Tap 3 and tap it to create a colorless snow artifact token named Icy Manolith. With tap to add 1 of any color. Okay. Tap 8 and this. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost, put the rest in the bottom. This card doesn't really have a home. Like, what deck wants this card? You know, kind of a cute card, kind of fun, definitely good in limited. It's just like a fine creature, but not a very exciting card. Just like, you know, whatever. When you have a set with so many legends in it, it's kind of like they can't all be really good. So it's kind of a silly, fun card. Sure, it's fine. The 3 seasons, not the 4 seasons. 3 seasons, blue and a green. Saga Simic, here we go. Chapter 1, mill 3 cards. Sure. Chapter 2, return up to 2 snow permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. So possible draw 2, although obviously, you know, not on turn 2 most likely. And then Chapter 3, choose 3 cards in each graveyard. Their owner shuffles those cards in. So it's also a pseudo graveyard hate card. Is it a photo? I don't know. It looks real. It's kind of interesting, honestly, using like photographs of like real physical art. It's kind of cool. This card is cool, but it feels similar to other effects like this. There was a green effect like this in Theros Beyond Death. Similar 2 mana, mill some cards and possibly get cards back. The problem is that like you can't really play it on turn 2 because if you mill 3 cards and don't hit, that's a problem. And the potential to draw 2 cards off this is awesome, but at what point in the game are we doing this? If your opponent has Scavenging Ooze, it's really awkward. It's just like the kind of card where it's like not the best enabler, not the best payoff. Maybe if you're playing like a snow deck, you put like 1 or 2 of his cards, has a little extra card advantage or whatever, but not super exciting, honestly. Just not super exciting. Okay, limited card. Milling 3 cards is just like not enough to effectively set anything up. Not stoked. Not stoked. The Trickster God's Heist. The Dimir enchantment. Chapter 1, you may exchange control of 2 target creatures. Hard to make that one working constructed. Chapter 2, you may exchange control of 2 target non-basic, non-creature permanents that share a card type. Alright. Chapter 3, they lose 3, you gain 3. This is a cute, silly card. This is not a card you're going to play constructed. You can probably make this card work in limited. Maybe. But even then, 4 mana is a lot. It's fun. It's a cute card. It's not super great. Vega the Watcher. 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer. When you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, draw a card. This is an obvious foretell enabler, but can also be good in other formats too. It's a good draft card for sure. I don't think a 2/2 flyer over 3 is good enough in constructed where everyone's playing Bone Crusher Giant, but it's good draft card for sure. Very good draft card. And our last multicolored card, The Waking of the Trolls. Please, God, no. Don't wake the trolls. Don't wake them up. Waking of the Trolls. 6 mana. Stone Rain. We love Stone Rain. Chapter 2. Put a land card from a graveyard on the battlefield tapped under your control so you can steal their land that you killed. So ramping from 6 mana. Okay. Chapter 3. Choose target opponent. They control fewer lands than you. Create a number of 4/4 tokens with trample equal to the distance. The difference. So this card's pretty fun. You play it, you kill a land, then you get another land from your graveyard to get it back, and then hopefully you have like 8 lands and they have 4. You make some 4/4s. This card is very fun. This card is not going to see play in any serious constructed decks, but I'm sure I'll play it in some fun brew on stream. Just a silly fun ramp finisher for sure. You can steal their land. Pretty fun. It's just fun. I just like it. This card's cool. Not breaking any worlds here, but pretty fun card. Put it with Fall of the Thran. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So that's the multi-card cards, folks. YouTube folks, like, comment, subscribe, join. $5 a month. I love you. And we got calls coming up to finish it up or finish it strong here. I love you all. Thanks for watching, YouTube.